Rogers TV.
Good evening and welcome to West Talk. Today is Tuesday, April the 9th, and we've got a great episode for you, just like every week. On the back end of the show, we're going to be talking all about the events happening in Corner Brook in the month of April. We'll check in with the Rotary Arts Center and the Civic Center and the Arts and Culture Center and see what you can look forward to there. But first, we've got a guest in studio, and I'm going to cut all the time off of our monologue preamble and conserve it for this guest because we've got a lot to talk about. Too much to talk about in 10 minutes, but I'm really excited to have in studio with me today my good friend Scott Grant, who we all know and love around here. Probably he took your wedding photos or something like that. There's a photo of somebody in your family that Scott took. But over the last few years, Scott has been called to be the photographer for Cain's Quest, which is touted by many as the most extreme or the longest endurance snowmobile race on the planet. Extremely harsh, extremely complicated, logistically challenging, and Scott has been capturing a lot of these special magic moments, documenting the race along the way. So here now is Scott to give us a little better idea. Thanks for coming down.
Hey, thanks, buddy. It's a pleasure.
Yeah,
a pleasure.
I wanted to get you down right away after Cain's Quest, but I figured you needed a few weeks to
It was
recuperate.
pretty crazy couple of weeks, too, just trying to catch up with things, right?
Yeah, for sure.
There's a pile of work to deliver back to them, too, and I want to do that in a quick time frame, you know? I don't want to be delivering photos back in September or something, right?
Right, that's right. You got to do it while the iron's hot.
Absolutely,
The snow's
absolutely.
cold.
While race fever's on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
So, well, really what I want to talk about today is like what it's like to be you at Cain's Quest, you know, 'cause you should be able to speak on that with the most authority. But for the viewers at home, can you give us the Coles notes on what Cain's Quest is, just in case for people who maybe haven't heard about it, and just kind of the high-level overview on the event?
Absolutely. So Cain's Quest is as Dustin said, it's a snowmobile endurance race, and they tout it as the longest one in the world. There is another race called Iron Dog, but it's very different from Cain's Quest. Iron Dog is you have fuel supplied all along the way, and they don't require support teams. So what happens in Cain's Quest, you're not allowed to ride trails like they are in Iron Dog. They need support along the way, so if they break anything, someone has to be there to deliver parts and that sort of thing. But the biggest thing is fuel deliveries the whole way. So this race is over 3,000 kilometers long, and those snowmobiles are probably going to burn a dozen tanks of gas each just to get that way. And remember, there's no fuel, you know, in those 3,500 kilometers or 3,000 kilometers, whatever it is. So it's just this crazy logistics game to keep ahead of the racers, to keep fuel and to keep parts there, right? And that's what most people just can't fathom. They can't fathom the complexity of this. And that's why they hold a race every 2 years, and they hold it every 2 years because it's so complex. It's so hard to get all the logistics in place. It literally takes 2 years to do that, to run this race, right?
And now, like we've seen in the past few years, weather is becoming a factor in climate and all this. So was it the last race or the one before where actually things started breaking up and melting and they had to cancel that?
Yeah, totally. So 2020 went off really well. 2022 should have been the next one. They didn't have it because of COVID. They put it off till 2023, and unfortunately once the riders got to Goose Bay, they got over 100 mils of rain. And from Goose Bay all the way to the south coast, like say down around Red Bay and all those places, got so much rain, and what happens, Labrador is just a slope, so all the water just took all the snow off the land, pushed it all out on the sea ice, and their only path of travel out on the sea ice was completely flooded. I mean, the sea ice had probably 2 feet of water on it or something like that. So they put it up to the racers. They talked to the racers and said, what would you guys do? And they said, let's pull the plug. It's too dangerous. It's too much, right? Someone had already ended up in the water, and they didn't want to go further, so they pulled the plug on it. So this year they went back, and I know when we flew into Goose Bay, we left from Lab City, and flying into Goose Bay, looking down on the chopper, all I could see was sand, grass, and snow. Sand, grass, snow, as far as the eye could see. Yeah, there was no snow on the south coast. So they did have the full race plan to get all the way down the south coast and back up around, and at the last minute they had to entirely scrap that idea and they built the extra kilometers on the, let's say, the northwestern side of Labrador instead. And they went up to Shefferville, I believe, is a town in Quebec, a mining town in Quebec, and came back down. And at first, a lot of the racers weren't too keen on the change because they have so much planning go into this. They've run all these routes before, and they want to pick the best routes, and now they're going to put them in an unknown location.
Yeah.
It really upsets all the planning they've done for a year or two ahead of time. So when it first happened, they were a little bit upset, but the following day, once they got on the trails, they were all like, yeah, this is awesome. The race is going to be great. So
just to clarify on a couple things that you mentioned there, there's no trail, really. There's no groomed trail being followed here.
No.
There's checkpoints, but it's up to the racers to find their own way, plan their own route from point to point.
Absolutely.
And sometimes this means that people are riding for how many kilometers a day, just for the average pleasure rider around here. For some people, 100 kilometers in a day in snowmobile is a big ride, or 200 or 300 is a massive ride.
Absolutely, yeah. We have the saying here all the time, you burn a tank of fuel here. It's almost hard to burn a tank of fuel on the west coast of Newfoundland. You're done by the end of the day. You're really tired as such, right?
Yeah.
And these guys are doing anywhere between 600 and 800, 850 kilometers in a day, which is 4 tanks of fuel. You know, and it's hard enough. After the first one, you're super tired, and it's the second one, and the third one, and the fourth one, and they might be riding for 20 hours to do that, right?
Wow.
So it's absolutely it's a tremendous.
So it's like riding a snowmobile from Corner Brook to St. John's every day.
Every day, yeah, and then getting very little sleep in the nighttime, and getting up the next morning with an absolutely destroyed body, and doing it again. So you can see one of the biggest hurdles is your brain.
Yeah.
Right. You know, physically it's tough.
Yeah.
But after a couple of days of that, your brain is telling you to give up, right?
So for you now, as the shooter, tell us about what your life is like and how first of all, you prepare to even go up there, considering you know, it's a unique challenge. You have equipment, you have all these considerations. But like, what is your main mission when you're going up there?
Oh, my main mission, I guess, is to tell the story as best I can of Kane's Quest as such, and to be there for the big moments. But the hard part about Kane's Quest is that it's easy to do that at the very beginning of the race because all the racers are condensed in this one spot, and I'm there with them. But it's like a shotgun blast. As it goes outward, everything spreads out more. And I'm spread out further too. So Labrador is a vast, vast expanse. They call it the big land for a very good reason. So at the beginning, it's easy to capture all those moments. But at the end, when we were chasing Team 99 in the end, you know, their last day when it looked like they were going to win and the pressure's on, we need to get a photo of them. I'm going to tell you, it wasn't easy. It really wasn't easy. And it took a team of, it took a helicopter, it took me, well, I was only shooting the photo, so I had the easy job, and that's a fact. But it took the helicopter pilot who was talking to the previous helicopter pilot from 2023, plus everybody in the back seat were on InReach texting headquarters at Kane's Quest getting coordinates for the racers. So if you think these guys have trackers on, the trackers send out a ping every 5 minutes. The ping is old by the time we see it on the apps that everybody is chasing. So even the coordinates we're getting from headquarters are old. We'd fly to that spot, we get there,
They're gone.
They're already gone. Holy cow, get another coordinate, fly to that spot, they're already gone. It was crazy.
So you're out there hunting snowmobilers in the vast wilderness of Labrador.
Absolutely, yeah, and it's tough. Sometimes you're just following tracks out there literally because there is no communication. You can't, there's no internet, there's no cell phone service in Labrador. So it's not like here where you can just pick up your phone and dial in and say, why, where are they at?
Wow. And so it's, for you, it's all helicopter.
Yeah,
It's the only way logistically to get to and do what you need to do.
Absolutely. There's no, I mean, if you look at places like Netwishish or Makovic or, I mean, unless I rode snowmobile there in wintertime, I'm not getting there.
Yeah.
Right? And I can't keep up with these guys, especially with gear on my back and sort of thing.
Yeah.
So the only way to do it is in a helicopter.
So many now, what's become pretty iconic from Kane's Quest is the now classic Scott Grant helicopter chase photo, right? The Newfoundland Smokey and the Bandit shot.
Yeah, well.
Right?
Yeah.
So that to me says, you're in the helicopter, you're with this team, they're dropping you off somewhere.
Yeah.
Trying to get you ahead of the action, I guess.
Yeah, totally, yeah.
And meanwhile, the helicopter continues to pursue the rider, often ending up in the shot.
Yeah, so I'll be the first one to say that photo was done way before I ever came to Cane's Quest. People were keen enough to do it, and I think it might have come out by a certain pilot by the name of Tim Williams. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Someone might have done it before them, but I know Tim flew me in 2020, and as soon as we dropped the first time, he flew back and came in around the riders. It was his idea to do it, make the shot iconic with the helicopter coming in behind him. But again, it's tough. Sometimes you just don't get the opportunity to do it. Sometimes the train doesn't allow it. Sometimes racers are too fast or in the wrong place at the wrong time. So sometimes it's really tough to do that. So we were really trying to concentrate this year on getting that photo, right?
Yeah.
But especially of Team 99 when they were.
And so are the riders, like on that first day, are the riders coming up to you knowing who you are? I mean, like, man, can you please get me that shot?
Yeah, no, first year wasn't. First year I was a total stranger. No one who knew who I was.
Yeah.
And it was a little bit difficult. You're trying to break down the barriers with people and talk to them, and so they trust you and let you in your bubble and that sort of thing. By 2023, it was a different story. They knew my face, that sort of thing, and they knew, okay, this guy could get my photo up, could make me not famous, but that sort of thing, right? 2024 was totally different. Everybody was like, get my photo, let's do it, right?
Yeah.
And it's really strange. You're flying up behind these people who haven't seen anybody in maybe 16 hours. They might be riding by themselves in the bush. We're flying up behind them in a helicopter. And everybody, all the teams do the same thing. When you're flying up behind them, they start looking. They're so in tune with this machine that they've been riding for so many kilometers that as soon as they hear anything strange, instantly heads start turning around. They're looking at
wrong.
Yeah, oh totally. They're looking back at the track wondering what that whoop 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 noise is, right?
Yeah.
And then they realize and they look up and they see the chopper, and usually there's a wave and the hand goes back to the throttle and pins it. 85% of the time they're on the throttle, right? They're like, oh yeah, I'm putting on a show for them.
Yeah.
God, just as fast as that. And then I'm sitting there thinking, I'm looking at the train ahead thinking, I hope you can hang on, man. That's pretty sketchy, right?
Yeah,
and you're now
you can see what's coming,
Absolutely.
but they can't.
Yeah, and they went from 80 kilometers an hour to 130 or 140, right? Yeah. Just blasting it, putting on a show, right?
Unbelievable. Yeah, there's one shot that you sent us over. Maybe we can flip it up on the screen here now. I think, was it Spencer Robinson maybe? Just like walking the machine with the helicopter really low flying behind. I mean,
that's pretty fun.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it's pretty rad. I describe it like, to me, it's almost like going to Disneyland. Well, I love snowmobiling. I love photography. I love winter. I love snowmobile races. It's like, it's my thing, right?
It's all the things you love.
Yeah, totally. And someone's going to pay me to do that? So for me, it's like flying over Disneyland all day long in a helicopter getting paid for it. That's the only way I can describe it because it's just so incredible, right?
So in the scheme of all the things you've taken part in, all the shoots you've done, and I mean, I know that that's a really, weddings is a small part of what you've done and whole, right? I know it's a bit of bread and butter, but how does this then hold up for you in terms of the things that you've had the opportunity to shoot in your life and the things you expect to get to shoot in your life? Where does this rank for you?
Right about there.
That's the top.
Yep. I come back, I get out of the helicopter at the end of every race, and at first you go back to headquarters and you're, oh, how was it? Was it amazing? Did you have a great time? And I say the same thing every time. I have no idea why you guys pay me.
Yeah.
Because I do it for free, and that's
Suckers.
the truth. It's such an incredible experience. It's hard to put it into words.
Yeah.
And I could literally write a 300-page book, and I bet I couldn't scratch the surface.
Yeah.
And that's the truth.
I know, and again, that's why I think it's almost a little laughable to try to cover this whole thing in a 10-minute interview. But I know there's a lot of people out there who are interested in the race and inspired by the race, but they're also inspired by what you're doing there, because you're sharing it. You're making sure people can hear this story. You're inspiring people to want to get after it in their own life and maybe other ways. Maybe it's not on a snowmobile. Maybe it's, running down the road or whatever. But just knowing your backstory, being one of the original Lewis Hillbilly types guys, one of these early people out using snowmobiles to capture content and take photos and all that stuff. It's really amazing to see. And I don't think they could have found a better person to do this.
Yeah, but it's like yourself. When you love what you do, you pour your heart and soul into it, right?
Yeah.
And you do that every day.
Yeah, we got to.
So you understand?
Yeah.
Yeah, you totally get it.
Yeah. It's a lot, man. And I can tell there must have been some really emotional moments for you up there as well.
Yeah.
Some of the things you get to observe.
Yeah. I said that it's a race that turns grown men into babies. It turns babies into men and men into babies.
Yeah.
And that's a fact.
Because nature will do that, right?
Yeah, well, you're going to grow up really quick when you enter a race like that sort of thing. If you're not experienced in life, you will be very quickly. But at the same time, you see a 50-year-old man cross the finish line, tears in his eyes.
Yeah.
You know, he's floored at what he just experienced and what trials he just went through.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could say something graphic. Am I allowed to tell a little graphic story?
We've only got a minute left, but you can tell if you can get it in there.
In 2020, there's two guys across the finish line, and one of them, I don't know what happened. I don't know if he reached out for a thing of champagne or whatever it was. There might have been the cup or something. And I looked at him. I said, "Daryl, show me your hands." And he did. He reached out and showed me his hands like that, and the skin was gone from all his fingers. All the skin was pushed up to his fingertips. And I said, "What happened?" And he told me that the heating, like the grips, heated grips stuck 2 days previous or full day previous, and he couldn't turn his heated hand grips off. So his hands were just sweating continuously for, I don't know how many hours he rode that day, and it just completely destroyed his hands for the finish line.
His hands, basically.
Yeah, totally. But I mean, that wasn't even a thing to him at the finish line. It was all about, "Yeah, I'm here, I won," sort of thing, right? And here he is, there's nothing left of his hands, right? And I said to him after, "You must be a fisherman, are you? Because only fishermen do that stuff, right?"
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
Oh my gosh.
Hard to describe.
I have 2 quick hit questions to ask you, and then we're going to have to wrap it up. One, if you had the opportunity, if somebody presented you the opportunity to ride this race, if somebody wanted to get behind you and a team and a mechanic and say, "Scott, you're going to run this," would you?
I don't know. I wouldn't do it to win, but I probably would to challenge myself. And I don't know. Honestly, I don't think I could do it. I really don't. I think my brain would kill me after. No, my body probably couldn't take it first. I don't know. But I've said after, so this was my 3rd race, and I've said that I'm going to go back and ride the big ride around Labrador. So at some point in my life, and I'm hoping in the next couple of years, I'm going to go back and I'm going to ride the entire route of 3,000 plus kilometers, but do it at my own pace, maybe take 2 weeks or so to do it.
Well, I'm sure that by the time you're ready to do that, you'll have made all the right friendships and contacts up in there that can help make that happen. And my final question is, what would you say to anybody who's watching this interview and are feeling like, "I want to do that"? Where should they begin, first of all?
Watch all the Kane's Quest stuff that you can get, obviously, but probably go read Corrine Paul's book. So Corrine Paul, I believe that's her name. I hope I'm getting it correct. She raced in 2020 on Team Virago. She was one of the girls here. And Corrine is from Rigolet, I believe. But she wrote a book about her experience. And I keep saying to people, I have one view of Kane's Quest, but it's only my perspective. It's totally different on the ground, or racing, or watching at home on your computer, or on your app on your phone, or something else. But she gives it from a racer's perspective. And I remember having this big mental picture built up of what Kane's Quest is. And then I sat down and went through the pages in her book. And all I could think was, wow, like this is a side of Kane's Quest that I had no idea even existed. Like I knew about all these crazy struggles and trials and tribulations here, but this just put things on an entirely new level. And that's the crazy thing about Kane's Quest, is that there's thousands of stories at every race, and we don't hear it.
And they don't all end up as books, right?
No, definitely not. Definitely not. Hey, too much of it just ends up as people's memories, right?
Yeah, fair enough. Anyway. Scott, man, we're gonna have to get you back and do a part 2 on this at some point.
It'd be cool. Maybe 2026 or something if I get back.
Absolutely.
Again. That's awesome.
But thanks a lot, man, for coming in today. I really appreciate your perspective.
Always a pleasure talking to you, man.
Yeah, thank
totally.
you.
Cool.
And that was Scott Grant. You know him, one of Newfoundland's most respected and best known photographers, as he blushes next to me. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back to fill you in on the events of the month here in Corner Brook. Stay tuned.
Come to where the land and the spirits are intertwined. Discover a whole new way to see this place. Feel the earth under your feet as you walk the path of our ancestors. Immerse yourself in our traditions. Ours is a culture alive with music, dance, art, nature, and adventure. It's in the air, the water, the sound of the wind in the trees. It's in the stories of our elders and the faces of our children, those with a shared history yet to discover. It's knowing that everything that casts a shadow has a spirit. Everything is alive. See what we see. Experience Malibu.
Hello, everyone. In the lobby this month, we have a display by some Grenfell art students. We also have some installation pieces from the sculpture class. Be sure to check it out. There are some very interesting displays throughout the building as you walk into the building, out on the balcony. So I encourage you to come and have a look and see what these creative students have been up to. In the theater this month, on April 11th, we have A Night of Magic with Michael Conway. This family show is going to be wonderful, and tickets are only $15 each if you purchase 4 or more, which makes it a great night out for your family. Coming up on Saturday, we have the Kubasonics. Kubasonics are arguably Newfoundland's best Ukrainian band. This music is high energy and fun, and they on a wonderful show. So please come on out on Saturday night and see the show. Coming up right after that, we have Corner Brook Regional High School's production of Mamma Mia. They are doing that next Friday and Saturday. So again, please come on out and support some local students. After that, we have Jason Cyrus. He's a hypnotist, and he is wonderful and engaging and funny and charming, and it is such a great show. So check it out, and that is on Friday, the 26th of April. So please check that out. Coming up at the end of the month, we have the Ennis Sisters with their Daughters of Newfoundland and Labrador tour. After that, we have Corner Brook Intermediate's production of Fame. And I'm very pleased to announce that coming up on Sunday, May 12th, we have the Munn School of Music bringing an opera roadshow out. It's the first time in 10 years we've had some opera on the stage. It's going to be a family show. It's a charming little story about a little child who's not very nice to the things in his house. And so the things in his house that he's not very nice at come to life. And so it's a very charming little opera, and I encourage you to bring the family out and come on out and see that. After that, we have Splash and Boots are coming in July, and then we always have more shows being added every day. So I encourage you to check out the website, and I'll see you at the show.
Hello everyone, my name is Brad. I'm with the Rotary Arts Center. I'm here just to let you guys know a few upcoming events that we have in the month of April. On April 13th, this coming Saturday, we have Quote the Raven. Quote the Raven are a folk duo from Conception Bay South. They're doing some really, really great things, wonderful harmonies, some really, really great songs. They just came back to Canada from a tour in Australia and a performance at the Junos. On April 18th, we have Rum Ragged coming back to the Rotary Arts Center. Unfortunately, this show is sold out. We do have a wait list started for anyone who is looking for some last-minute tickets. The following Saturday, on April 20th, we have Folk It. Folk It are a three-piece folk trio consisting of members Shirley Montague, Charlie Payne, and Wayne Parsons. On April 23rd, we have a classical performance with Janelle Luciuk and Carrie Bursey. This duo is a vocal soprano and a lute player. Again, this is April the 23rd. The following evening, on April the 24th, as part of our ongoing partnership with Pitcher NL, is a screening of Mary Walsh's Young Trifie. Really interesting part of this event is that Mary Walsh herself is going to be at the Rotary Arts Center to take part in a Q&A session after the film screened. And our final performance in the month of April is a tribute to Adele. Slightly different take on this. It's going to be performed by Jamie Stone and Noah Hamilton. Again, that's April the 27th, a tribute to Adele. And while I still have you, I'll let you know of a couple of events in the first week of May. On May the 2nd, we have Nico Paulo, who is originally from Portugal and moved to St. John's a few years back. Really remarkable and wonderful singer-songwriter. She's going to be performing with a band. Again, that's May the 2nd. And on May the 4th, we have Craig Young. Craig Young, as many of you will know, is a wonderful guitar player, won the best Canadian country guitarist 4 years in a row, nominated 6 times, performed at the Rack last summer to a sold-out audience, and we expect a similar type of audience on May the 4th for Craig Young. With that, that's everything that we have happening for the next month or so at the Rack. Thank you, and hopefully we'll see you there.
And that's it for our show today. I want to say a special thank you to my friend Scott Grant for coming down, tell us all about Cain's Quest. Make sure you go follow Scott on Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff, and keep up with him and the amazing photos he's always putting forward. And thanks, of course, to the fantastic venues of Western Newfoundland for filling us in on the events of the month. That's it for today. We'll be back next Tuesday night for another episode of West Talk. Thanks.
Come to where the land and the spirits are intertwined. Discover a whole new way to see this place. Feel the earth under your feet as you walk the path of our ancestors. Immerse yourself in our traditions. Ours is a culture alive with music, dance, art, nature, and adventure. It's in the air, the water, the sound of the wind in the trees. It's in the stories of our elders and the faces of our children, those with a shared history yet to discover. It's knowing that everything that casts a shadow has a spirit. Everything is alive. See what we see. Experience Malibu.
Provide feedback on this show or find out how you can get involved. Email us at comments@rogerstv.com or visit our website.
You're watching Rogers TV.
Today, I helped a parent feed their family by connecting them to a food program.
Today, I helped someone connect with mental health supports.
Today, I helped a couple struggling to pay their bills access financial aid.
Every day, 211 navigators connect Canadians to critical government and community programs and services.
211. Help starts here.
Buckle up, we're cleared for takeoff.
Here we go, boys, here we go.
16 teams, one champion for the greatest trophy in sports.
You know why I'm here. A time for new heroes to be born.
This is a guy who wants to get to the Stanley Cup Finals.
This is what I'm here for.
Stanley Cup champions.
I'm here. I'm here for the Stanley Cup.
They've reached the summit.
I'm here to win.
The Stanley Cup playoffs. Here we go.
watching Rogers TV.
Our family used to be so fun. Now my brother takes care of me. I miss Mom and Dad being around more.